The deep space listening station on Kepler 442b had been quiet for cycles. The Zephyrian operators, tall beings with blue-green skin and large eyes that never seemed to blink, worked in peaceful silence. Their long fingers moved across bioorganic controls that pulsed with soft light. For the Zephyrian collective, monitoring the galaxy for new intelligent life was not just duty, it was hope. Commander Vexithera stood behind the operators, her graceful neck craned forward as she watched the displays. The Zephyrians had spent thousands of years building their alliance of peaceful species. Every new world they found brought more friends, more safety, more proof that the galaxy could be a place of harmony. "Commander," called Operator Zilmoth, his voice carrying the musical quality all Zephyrians possessed. "We have something unusual from the outer rim. Grid reference 77 Alpha." Vexithera moved closer, her hooved feet making soft sounds on the living floor. The station itself was grown, not built like all Zephyrian technology. It breathed and hummed with life, filtering air and recycling waste through natural processes that their ancestors had perfected. "Show me," she said. The display bloomed with data, radio signals, electromagnetic patterns, and what looked like digital transmissions, all coming from a small yellow star system. Vexithera's large eyes widened as she processed the information. The signals were complex, organized, and clearly artificial. "How long have they been transmitting?" she asked. "The signals started weak about 200 cycles ago, but they have grown much stronger recently. Commander, I think we found a new intelligence." Vexithera felt her hearts racing. Both of them. Zephyrians had two hearts to pump their green blood through their tall, thin bodies. Finding new intelligent life was the greatest joy their species could experience. "Begin translation protocols," she ordered. "Route everything to the linguistics department. I want to know what these beings are saying." The next few days passed in excitement. The linguistics team worked around the clock, their biocomputers processing terabytes of data from the distant world. Slowly, patterns emerged. Languages, multiple languages from what appeared to be a single planet. Mathematics, science, art, and most importantly, glimpses of the beings themselves. Senior linguist Morthek brought the first visual files to Vexithera personally. His normally calm demeanor seemed excited as he activated the viewing chamber. "Commander, you need to see this," he said. The air in the chamber shimmered, then resolved into moving images. Vexithera gasped as she saw them, the inhabitants of the distant world. They were small compared to Zephyrians, but they walked upright on two legs like civilized beings. They had hair on their heads and smooth skin in various shades of brown, pink, and tan. But it was what they were doing that made Vexithera's heart sing with joy. The images showed the beings helping each other. When natural disasters struck their world, and there seemed to be many, they rushed to save each other from floods, fires, and storms. She watched them dig through rubble to rescue trapped individuals, share food with hungry ones, and tend to the injured with gentle care. "They are healers," Morthek explained, changing the display to show what appeared to be medical procedures. The beings wore white coverings and used complex tools to repair damaged bodies. "Look how carefully they work. See how they comfort each other during pain." Another image showed the beings working together in space. They had built structures in orbit around their world and were taking their first steps toward the stars. But even in space, they helped each other, sharing resources and knowledge. "What do they call themselves?" Vexithera asked. "The translation is still rough, but we believe they call themselves humans and their world Earth." "Commander, these beings appear to be naturally cooperative. Look at this." The display showed humans forming groups to solve problems, building cities together, and creating art that celebrated unity and peace. Even their entertainment seemed to focus on helping others and working as teams. Vexithera felt tears of joy forming in her large eyes. "They are perfect," she whispered. "They are exactly what the collective needs." For weeks, the Zephyrians studied every transmission they could intercept from Earth. The more they learned, the more excited they became. The humans had something the collective had always struggled with: natural compassion combined with intelligence. Most species the Zephyrians encountered were either smart but selfish or kind but simple. These humans seemed to be both intelligent and naturally caring. "Send word to the High Council," Vexithera ordered. "Prepare a first contact delegation. These humans would be valuable allies." The message traveled through Zephyrian biocommunication networks faster than any ship could fly. Across their vast territory, the collective buzzed with excitement. A new species that seemed perfect for their peaceful alliance had been found. High Counselor Yethlon himself reviewed the data on the capital world of Serenity Prime. His ancient eyes, clouded with age but still sharp, studied every detail the listening station had provided. Fascinating, he murmured to his council of advisors. They live on what appears to be a garden world rich in life and resources. Yet they share freely with each other. This speaks of a naturally generous species. The preliminary scans show they have developed space travel recently, added Counselor Dexara. Perfect timing for first contact. They are ready to join the galactic community. But are we ready for them? Asked Counselor Mesthon, always the cautious one. Unknown species can be unpredictable. Yethlon waved a graceful hand. Look at the evidence, Mesthon. These humans rescue each other from disasters. They heal their wounded. They explore space together instead of fighting over it. What possible threat could such beings pose to our collective? The council agreed unanimously. Preparation began for the most important first contact mission in Zephyrian history. Fleet Commander Kesithara was chosen to lead the delegation. She was young for such an important role, but her record was spotless. She had successfully welcomed 17 species into the collective, including the notoriously shy Whisper, folk of the Andromeda Rim. This will be different, she told her crew as they prepared the bioship, Gentle Dawn, for the long journey to Earth. These humans are already cooperative. We won't need to teach them about working together, they already know. Our job is to show them they have friends among the stars. The Gentle Dawn was a perfect example of Zephyrian technology. Grown rather than built, it was more like a living creature than a machine. Its hull could heal small damages automatically. Its systems ran on bioneural networks that learned and adapted, and its entire structure was designed to be as non-threatening as possible. The ship looked more like a giant flower than the angular metal vessels most species preferred. As they prepared to leave, Kesthara reviewed the translation protocols one more time. First impressions were crucial with new species, and she wanted to make sure her words would convey the proper message of friendship and welcome. Set course for the Sol system, she ordered as the Gentle Dawn lifted from its biodock. Maximum peaceful approach. We don't want to alarm our new friends. Behind them, the entire collective watched with anticipation. In their minds, they were about to welcome the perfect allies, beings who combined intelligence with natural compassion, who helped each other without being asked, who explored the galaxy with wonder instead of weapons. They had no way of knowing that those same helpful healing humans were, at that very moment, tracking their approach with military sensors and preparing defensive measures that would soon shake both species to their core. The greatest misunderstanding in galactic history had begun. The first human to detect the alien approach was Lieutenant Sarah Chen, monitoring deep space sensors from Titan Station. She had been watching the same empty stretch of space for 6 hours when something that shouldn't exist appeared on her screens. "What the hell?" she muttered, leaning closer to her console. The object was massive, easily the size of a small moon, and it was moving toward the inner solar system at speeds that defied known physics. Sarah's training kicked in immediately. She opened a priority channel to Earth Defense Command. "EDC Control, this is Titan Station. I have an unknown contact bearing 27 Mark IV. Distance approximately 40 AU and closing. Object appears to be artificial and very large." The response came back within seconds. "Titan Station, confirm your reading. Are you certain this is artificial?" Sarah ran the scans again, her heart pounding. The object's surface was too smooth, too organized to be natural, and it was definitely under intelligent control, making course corrections as it moved. "EDC Control confirmed. This is definitely artificial. Recommend immediate alert status." Across the solar system, alarms began to sound. Mars Colony went to high alert. The asteroid mining stations powered up their defensive systems. On Earth, President Martinez was pulled from a budget meeting and rushed to the underground command center beneath Geneva. "How long until it reaches Earth?" she asked General Morrison, head of Earth Defense. "At current speed, approximately 72 hours, Madam President. But we don't know if it will maintain that speed, or if there are more objects we haven't detected yet." President Martinez stared at the tactical display showing the alien contact as a red dot moving steadily toward Earth. Humanity had always wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they had their answer, and it was heading straight for them. What are our defensive capabilities? We have 12 battle cruisers in the outer system, 43 destroyers spread between Mars and Earth, and the orbital defense platforms around Earth itself. It's not much against something that size, but we'll make them work for it. Meanwhile, aboard the Gentle Dawn, Fleet Commander Kesithara was reviewing her first contact protocols one final time. The bioship had been traveling for weeks, and they were finally approaching the human solar system. Her crew was excited but nervous. First contact was always delicate. Beginning final approach to the human homeworld, reported Navigator Velthar. Their star system is remarkably active. I'm detecting multiple artificial objects throughout the system. Kesthara moved to the observation chamber, where the living walls became transparent to show the space ahead. The human star system was indeed busy. She could see structures orbiting the fourth planet, what their files called Mars, and multiple objects moving between the worlds. They are more advanced than we initially thought, she observed. This is good. Advanced species are usually easier to communicate with. Commander, called Communications Specialist Wexprin, I'm detecting electromagnetic signals from multiple sources. The humans are definitely aware of our presence. Kesthara felt a flutter of excitement. Excellent. Begin broadcasting our greeting protocols. Use the translation matrix we prepared. The message that went out from the Gentle Dawn was meant to be welcoming and peaceful. In the Zephyrian language, it was poetry, flowing words about friendship, mutual aid, and the joy of meeting new allies among the stars. But the translation matrix had fundamental problems. The Zephyrians had learned human languages from intercepted broadcasts, many of which were entertainment programs, news reports, and educational materials taken out of context. They didn't understand human cultural subtleties, metaphors, or the way humans used language differently in different situations. What the humans received was this. Greetings, soft shells of the third world. We are the Zephyrian Collective, masters of this region of space. We have observed your primitive attempts at cooperation and find them amusing. Do not fear our arrival. We bring gifts of superior wisdom and will provide protective guidance to your defenseless population. Your small minds cannot comprehend the dangers of the galaxy, but we will shelter you from threats too complex for your understanding. Prepare to receive our benevolent oversight. Admiral Rebecca Torres, commanding the Earth Defense Fleet from the battleship Indomitable. Read the translated message 3 times before she truly processed what it said. They're calling us primitive, she said to her staff, and defenseless. And they're talking about benevolent oversight. Captain Williams, her chief of staff, shook his head grimly. It sounds like they're planning to conquer us, Admiral. They're just being polite about it. Torres had spent 30 years in the Space Navy, working her way up from a junior officer on patrol ships to commanding humanity's first real battle fleet. She had seen enough of human nature to know that anyone who claimed to come in peace while insulting your intelligence was probably lying. Signal the fleet, she ordered. Battle stations. And send a response to the alien ship. The human response was direct and clear. Unknown vessel, you are approaching sovereign territory of the United Earth Alliance. State your intentions clearly and maintain your current distance. Any attempt to enter the inner system without permission will be considered a hostile act. Aboard the Gentle Dawn, the human message caused confusion and alarm. They sound angry, Wexprin reported to Kesthara. Our translation systems are having difficulty with their response, but they appear to be making threats. Kesthara was puzzled. According to their intelligence, humans were naturally cooperative and peaceful. Why were they responding with hostility to an offer of friendship? Perhaps they are afraid, she decided. Many species react poorly to first contact. Reduce our speed and broadcast a stronger peace message. The second Zephyrian message was even worse than the first. Trying to be more reassuring, they emphasized their protective intentions and superior technology. To human ears, it sounded like, "Do not be alarmed by your natural fear, small ones. We understand that your limited experience makes you suspicious of your betters. We will demonstrate our advanced capabilities to ease your concerns and prove our ability to defend you from yourselves." Admiral Torres felt her temper rising. They're being condescending now. And they just threatened to demonstrate their advanced capabilities on us. She opened a fleet-wide channel. All ships, this is Admiral Torres. The alien contact has been identified as hostile. They are claiming superior authority over human space and threatening to demonstrate their weapons against us. We will not permit this. Battlefleet, prepare for combat operations. Across the solar system, human ships began moving into defensive positions. The civilian population was evacuated from orbital stations. Mars Colony sealed its domes and powered up its defensive shields. On Earth, the population was told to prepare for possible attack. Kesthara watched in growing horror as human ships began forming what was clearly a battle formation. The vessels were smaller than the Gentle Dawn, but there were many of them, and their movements suggested military training. "Commander," reported Tactical Specialist Nexvala, "the human vessels are armed. I'm detecting weapon systems charging and their ships are taking attack positions." "This doesn't make sense," Kesthara said. "Our intelligence said they were peaceful. Why are they preparing to fight?" She didn't understand that the humans had interpreted her peaceful overtures as arrogant threats. She didn't know that calling humans primitive and defenseless was one of the worst insults possible to a species that had fought its way to the top of a hostile world's food chain. "Perhaps they have been corrupted by some hostile influence," suggested Vilthar. "Or maybe they are being forced to act aggressive by some unseen enemy." Kesthara made a fateful decision. "We will demonstrate our peaceful intentions by showing them our defensive capabilities. Use the harmonic scanners to show them our shields are meant for protection, not attack." The Gentle Dawn's scanning beam swept across the human fleet, a gentle pulse of energy designed to show the aliens' defensive technology. To the Zephyrians, it was like extending an open hand to show they held no weapons. To the humans, it looked like a targeting scan. "They're locking weapons on the fleet," shouted Lieutenant Commander Park from the destroyer Vigilant. "Admiral, they're painting us with some kind of scanning beam." Torres didn't hesitate. "All ships fire warning shots. Show them we're serious." 6 human destroyers fired plasma bolts past the Gentle Dawn's bow, a clear warning in any military language. The shots were deliberately aimed to miss, but they came close enough to light up every sensor on the bioship. Kesthara felt her world collapse as the energy bolts streaked past her ship. The humans had opened fire. The peaceful cooperative species they had come to welcome into the collective had just attacked them without provocation. "Evasive maneuvers," she ordered. "Send an emergency signal to the collective." "The humans are not what we thought they were. They are hostile and dangerous." As the Gentle Dawn retreated to a safe distance, both species struggled to understand what had gone wrong. The humans saw an arrogant alien species that had insulted them, claimed authority over human space, and then scanned their fleet with unknown weapons. The Zephyrians saw a violent species that had attacked peaceful ambassadors without cause. Neither side realized they had just started the galaxy's greatest misunderstanding, and it was about High Counselor Yethlan had been sleeping when the emergency signal from the Gentle Dawn reached Serenity Prime. The bioneural network that connected all Zephyrian worlds carried the message instantly, waking him with its urgency. He stood in his private chamber, his aged form trembling as he absorbed Fleet Commander Kesthara's report. The humans had attacked. The peaceful, cooperative species they had hoped to welcome had fired weapons at their diplomatic mission. "Impossible," he whispered to the empty room, his large eyes, clouded with age, filled with tears of confusion and disappointment. Within minutes, the High Council was assembled in emergency session. The great biodome of the council chamber pulsed with agitated light as 12 of the galaxy's most experienced diplomats tried to understand what had gone wrong. "Show us the visual records again," ordered Counselor Dexara. Her graceful neck stretched forward in concentration. The chamber's living walls displayed the footage from the Gentle Dawn. They watched the human ships move into aggressive formations, saw the energy weapons fire past their diplomatic vessel, and heard the harsh, threatening messages the humans had sent. "They called our peaceful offer hostile," reported Communications Elder Teshavarn, his voice carrying the musical sadness all Zephyrians felt when faced with violence. "Their response to our friendship was immediate preparation for war." Counselor Mesthon, who had been cautious about the humans from the beginning, spoke carefully. "Perhaps we misjudged their nature. The intercepted transmissions showed them helping each other. But maybe that cooperation only extends to their own species." "No," Yethlan said firmly. "I have studied the reports. These humans show genuine compassion, real cooperation. Look at how they rescue each other from disasters, how they care for their wounded, how they explore space together instead of fighting over resources. This behavior cannot be faked across an entire species." He activated the display again, showing the original transmissions that had first attracted Zephyrian attention. Images of humans helping flood victims, doctors saving lives, astronauts working together in space stations. Something has changed them, he concluded. Something has made them afraid, paranoid, aggressive. They are acting against their own nature. Elder Kexthalan, the oldest member of the council, spoke in the whispered tones that came with extreme age. In my 1,000 cycles, I have seen species corrupted by outside influence. Fear can make even the gentlest beings violent. Perhaps the humans are being threatened by some hostile force we do not know about. The council fell silent, considering this possibility. The galaxy was vast, and there were species the collective had never encountered. If some aggressive aliens had been threatening Earth, it would explain why the humans reacted with such fear and violence to the Zephyrian approach. It would make sense, agreed Councillor Velmaran. Imagine if someone had been attacking Zephyrian space for years, threatening our worlds. We might react with suspicion to any unknown contact, even peaceful ones. Yethlan felt his heart's aching with sympathy for the humans. They were trapped by their fear, forced to be violent when their nature called for cooperation. It was a tragedy that demanded action. We cannot abandon them, he declared. If the humans are being threatened, they need our protection more than ever. Their violent response to our diplomatic mission proves they are desperate and afraid. What do you propose? Asked Exara. We send the Peacekeeper fleet, Yethlan said. Not as conquerors, but as protectors. We establish a protective zone around their system, find out what has been threatening them, and show them they have friends among the stars. The Peacekeeper fleet was the collective's response to galactic threats. When hostile species attacked peaceful worlds, when pirates raided trade routes, when any form of violence threatened the harmony of civilized space, the Peacekeepers responded. Their ships were designed not to destroy, but to contain, protect, and pacify. The humans might resist even a protective force, warned Mesthon. They seem very afraid. Then we must be patient, Yethlan replied. Frightened creatures bite even those who try to help them. We will establish our protective perimeter at a distance, demonstrate our peaceful intentions, and wait for them to calm down enough to listen. The decision was unanimous. Within days, the largest Peacekeeper fleet in collective history was assembled. 300 bioships, each one grown for protection and peaceful resolution of conflicts. The fleet was commanded by Admiral Thessarian, a veteran of 17 peacekeeping operations across the galaxy. Admiral Thessarian was different from most Zephyrians. His ancestors had come from a world where predators still existed, making him one of the few members of his species who truly understood fear and aggression. This experience had made him the collective's best peacekeeper. Remember, he told his fleet commanders as they prepared to depart, the humans are not our enemies. They are victims trapped by fear and desperation. Our job is to protect them, not punish them for their frightened reactions. The Peacekeeper fleet was an impressive sight as it departed collective space. The bioships moved in perfect formation, their living hulls shimmering with bioluminescent patterns that signaled peaceful intentions to any species that understood collective protocols. Meanwhile, on Earth, the situation was rapidly escalating. The alien ship had retreated but remained in the outer system, clearly observing human activities. Intelligence reports suggested it was sending messages to unknown recipients, probably calling for reinforcements. President Martinez stood in the war room beneath Geneva, surrounded by the most advanced military minds humanity had ever produced. The holographic display showed the current tactical situation. One alien vessel maintaining position beyond Pluto's orbit. Human fleets moving to defensive positions throughout the solar system. What's our assessment of their capabilities? She asked General Morrison. Unknown but probably superior to ours, he replied honestly. That ship is massive, easily 10 times the size of our largest vessels. If it's representative of their technology, we're facing a significant threat. Any response to our diplomatic attempts? Admiral Torres, attending the meeting via hologram from the Indomitable, shook her head. Nothing comprehensible, Madam President. Their messages seem designed to insult our intelligence while claiming they want to help us. Classic manipulation tactics. Dr. Elizabeth Warren, the government's chief xenobiologist, had been studying the alien transmissions. There's something odd about their communication patterns, she reported. The language structure suggests they might genuinely believe they're being friendly, even though their words come across as threatening to us. Are you suggesting this is a misunderstanding? Asked President Martinez. I'm suggesting we might be dealing with a species that thinks very differently than we do. But that doesn't make them less dangerous. If they can't understand why we see their messages as threatening, they might not understand the consequences of their actions either. General Morrison activated a new display showing Earth's defensive preparations. We've recalled all civilian ships from the outer system. Mars colony is sealed and defended. The asteroid belt mining stations have been converted to sensor and communication relays. If this alien ship calls in support, we'll see them coming. And if they come in force, we make them pay for every kilometer of space, Morrison said grimly. Humanity has never surrendered to invaders before. We won't start now. What none of the humans knew was that their preparations were being observed and misinterpreted by the retreating Gentle Dawn. To Kesthara and her crew, the human military preparations looked like the desperate actions of a species under siege. They watched human civilian ships flee toward the inner system. They saw military vessels spreading throughout the solar system in what appeared to be defensive positions. They observed the sealed colonies and the converted mining stations being used as early warning posts. They are preparing for invasion, reported tactical specialist Nex Vala. Look at how they position their forces. They expect attack from multiple directions. Kesthara felt her hearts breaking as she watched the human preparations. These poor beings were so afraid, so certain that enemies were coming for them, that they had turned their entire civilization into a fortress. Send another message to the collective, she ordered. Tell them the humans need immediate protection. They are preparing for siege warfare. Whatever has been threatening them is forcing them to militarize their entire species. The message reached Admiral Thessarian's fleet while they were still in hyperspace, traveling toward the Sol system. He read the report with growing concern. The humans weren't just afraid, they were preparing for total war. Increase speed, he ordered. The humans need our help more desperately than we realized. Behind him, 300 bioships adjusted their course and accelerated toward Earth. Their commanders convinced they were racing to save a gentle species from some terrible threat. None of them suspected that they were about to become that threat in human eyes. The stage was set for the greatest military confrontation in galactic history, between species that both believed they were defending innocent lives against unprovoked aggression. And at the center of it all, the truth waited to be discovered. The first sign of the approaching peacekeeper fleet came from the deep space monitoring stations hidden in the Kuiper Belt. Astronomer Dr. James Chen, Sarah's older brother, was running routine scans when his equipment suddenly lit up with contacts. Jesus Christ, he whispered, staring at his displays in disbelief. Control, this is Kuiper Station 7. I have multiple contacts bearing... Hell, they're coming from every direction. At Earth Defense Command, the war room erupted into controlled chaos as reports flooded in from monitoring stations throughout the outer system. The holographic display filled with red dots representing alien vessels, appearing in waves as they dropped out of hyperspace. How many? Demanded General Morrison, his face pale as he watched the display update. Still counting, sir, replied the tracking officer. Current estimate is over 200 vessels, with more arriving every minute. President Martinez stared at the tactical display, feeling the weight of humanity's survival settling on her shoulders. Admiral Torres, what's your assessment? Torres's voice came through the comm system with grim professionalism. They've brought a full invasion fleet, Madam President. This isn't a diplomatic mission. This is conquest. What the humans didn't understand was that Admiral Thessarian was deploying his fleet in standard collective peacekeeping formation. The bioships spread out in a wide sphere around the Sol system, creating what Zephyrians called a protective embrace, a gentle containment meant to shield the threatened system from outside attack. To human eyes, it looked like a classic encirclement maneuver. They're surrounding us, reported Captain Singh from the cruiser Defiant. Multiple approach vectors, coordinated timing. This is textbook invasion tactics. Admiral Thessarian stood in the command chamber of his flagship, the Harmony's Light, watching the human system with growing concern. The bioship's living wall showed him the tactical situation in real time, and what he saw broke both his hearts. The humans had turned their entire civilization into a war machine. Every vessel in their system was armed or armored. Their planets were surrounded by defensive installations. Even their civilian ships had been retrofitted with weapons. Admiral, reported Fleet Coordinator Yexathera, we're detecting massive energy signatures from the human homeworld. They appear to be powering up planetary defense systems. Thessarian studied the readings with expert eyes. The energy patterns were unlike anything in collective experience. Raw, brutal, and incredibly powerful. These weren't the elegant bioweapons the collective used for rare defensive actions. These were devices designed for pure destruction. What could have done this to them? He murmured. What enemy forced them to arm their entire species? Navigation specialist Kethvalar looked up from his bioconsole. Admiral, the human vessels are moving to intercept our forward elements. Their formation suggests they intend to fight. Of course they do, Thessarian said sadly. They think we're part of whatever has been threatening them. Signal the fleet. Maintain protective distance, but be ready to defend ourselves. We cannot help them if they destroy us first. On Earth, President Martinez was addressing the world from the Emergency Command Center. Her speech was broadcast to every screen on the planet, to the colonies on Mars and the Moon, to the mining stations in the asteroid belt, and to the research posts scattered throughout the outer system. Citizens of Earth, she began, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what she was about to say. We are facing the greatest challenge in human history. An alien fleet of unprecedented size has surrounded our solar system. They have ignored our attempts at peaceful communication and responded to diplomacy with threats. The president paused, looking directly into the camera. But we are not defenseless. We have spent decades preparing for this possibility. Our fleets are strong, our defenses are ready, and our resolve is absolute. Humanity has faced extinction before and survived. We will survive this too. Across Earth, people gathered around screens, holding their loved ones close as they watched their president continue. To our enemies listening to this transmission, you have made a grave mistake. You see a young species that has only recently reached for the stars, and you think we are weak. You are wrong. We are the children of a world that tried to kill us every day for millions of years. We learned to survive by being stronger, faster, and more determined than anything that hunted us. Admiral Thessarian, monitoring human transmissions, felt a chill run through his bioneural implants as the translation systems processed the president's words. The humans weren't just afraid, they were defiant. And their president was speaking of their world as if it had been hostile to their own species. We built our civilization by conquering a planet that gave us nothing for free, President Martinez continued. We learned cooperation by facing disasters that would have destroyed weaker species. We reached for space not because it was safe, but because we refused to accept any limits on our growth. The president's voice grew harder, carrying an edge that made even hardened military officers straighten unconsciously. You want to see what humanity can do when threatened? You're about to find out. Every human ship, every human world, every human life is now dedicated to one purpose, proving that Earth does not bow to invaders. The transmission ended with Earth's coordinates being broadcast along with a simple message. Come and take it. Admiral Thessarian stood in stunned silence as his translation specialist confirmed what they had just heard. The humans weren't victims of some outside threat. They were describing themselves as natural warriors, products of a hostile world that had forged them into something dangerous. Admiral, whispered Fleet Coordinator Yexathera, if their words are accurate, then their planet is what the old databases call a death world. They evolved under conditions that would kill most galactic species. Thessarian felt his bioneural networks processing this new information with growing alarm. Death worlds were legendary in galactic history, planets so hostile that only the most aggressive and adaptable species could survive on them. The few death world species the collective had encountered were never approached for alliance. They were too dangerous. That would explain their response to our peaceful overtures, he realized. Death world species see threats everywhere because threats are everywhere on their worlds. They attack first because hesitation means death. But even as he understood the source of human aggression, the tactical situation was spiraling beyond his control. Human ships were moving to engage his forward elements, and their energy signatures were growing stronger by the hour. The breaking point came when a human destroyer, the Relentless, intercepted a Zephyrian bioship that had moved too close to Mars colony. Captain Maria Santos had orders to prevent any alien vessel from approaching human settlements. Unknown vessel, you are in violation of defended space, she broadcast to the bioship. Turn away immediately or we will open fire. The Zephyrian commander, Fleet Tender Noxthalan, tried to explain that his ship was only attempting to provide protective coverage for the human colony. His message, filtered through faulty translation systems, came out as, Small craft do not interfere with our protective procedures. Your limited understanding endangers the soft shells we are here to shelter. Captain Santos felt her temper flare. They just called us small craft and soft shells, she told her bridge crew. And they're talking about protective procedures for Mars Colony without our permission. She opened a channel to Mars Colony. Colony Control, they're talking about implementing some kind of procedure to protect you. Are you in danger? Negative, relentless, came the reply from Colonel Jackson, Mars Colony commander. We're secure and need no assistance from aliens who won't even identify themselves properly. Santos made her decision. The Relentless fired a single plasma torpedo across the bioship's bow, a warning, shot that would have been clearly understood by any human vessel, but Zephyrian bioships didn't have armor in the traditional sense. Their hulls were living tissue, engineered to be incredibly resilient but also designed to heal and adapt. When the plasma bolt passed close enough to be considered a near miss, the bioship's automated defense systems interpreted it as an attack and responded instinctively. The bioship's hull suddenly sprouted defensive spines. Its surface changed from peaceful blue-green to warning red, and it released a cloud of defensive pheromones that would have driven away predators on a Zephyrian world. To Captain Santos, it looked like the alien ship was deploying weapons in some kind of chemical attack. Hostile action, she shouted. All weapons, target that ship and fire. The Relentless opened up with everything it had. Plasma bolts, particle beams, and kinetic projectiles slammed into the bioship's hull. The living vessel screamed across multiple electromagnetic frequencies as its tissue was burned and torn by weapons it had never been designed to face. Fleet Tender Noxthalan died with his ship, never understanding why the beings he had come to protect were killing him with such brutal efficiency. The destruction of the bioship sent shockwaves through both fleets. Admiral Thessarian watched in horror as one of his peaceful vessels was torn apart by human weapons designed for pure destruction. On the human side, Admiral Torres saw the first confirmed alien kill and felt a surge of savage satisfaction. One down, she reported to Fleet Command. Human weapons are effective. The death of Fleet Tender Noxthalan changed everything. Admiral Thessarian felt the loss like a physical wound as the bioship's death cry echoed through the collective's neural network. Across the Peacekeeper fleet, crews who had never experienced violence in their long lives suddenly understood that they were facing something beyond their comprehension. They murdered him, whispered Coordinator Yexthera, her large eyes filled with tears that sparkled like liquid starlight. Noxthalan was trying to help them, and they destroyed him without warning. Thessarian stood in the command chamber of the Harmony's light, watching the expanding debris field that had once been a living ship filled with medical supplies and peaceful intentions. His bioneural implants processed combat data he had hoped never to see. Signal all ships, he ordered, his musical voice carrying new harmonics of grief and steel. Defensive positions. The humans are not victims. They are predators. For the first time in collective history, a peacekeeper fleet prepared for actual war. On the human side, the destruction of the alien vessel had the opposite effect. Admiral Torres felt a surge of hope as she studied the tactical data from the engagement. Their ships are vulnerable, she reported to Earth Defense Command. The Relentless took out a target 10 times her size with standard weapons. These aliens might have numbers, but we have firepower. What neither side understood was that they were both catastrophically wrong about each other. The humans saw the destruction of one bioship and assumed all alien vessels were equally fragile. They didn't realize that Noxthalan's ship had been destroyed so easily, precisely because it was a peaceful vessel, with living hull designed for healing and adaptation, not warfare. The Zephyrian saw the brutal efficiency of human weapons and assumed the humans were natural killers. They didn't understand that humans had developed such devastating firepower, specifically because they had evolved on a world where anything less than overwhelming force meant death. The truth would have shocked both species. The humans were as gentle as the Zephyrians believed when they felt safe. The Zephyrians were as capable of violence as the humans feared when they felt threatened, but neither species felt safe now. The next exchange came when Admiral Torres decided to test the alien response to a direct challenge. She ordered the destroyer Squadron Tango to make a probing attack on the nearest group of alien ships. Captain Rodriguez, commanding the destroyer Fierce, led 5 human ships in a high-speed attack run against a cluster of bioships positioned near Jupiter. The plan was simple: strike hard, cause damage, and retreat before the aliens could respond in force. The bioships Rodriguez targeted were hospital vessels, carrying medical supplies and healing specialists to help with the human crisis the collective believed was happening. When human missiles and plasma bolts began tearing through their living hulls, the medical ships did what they were designed to do. They called for help. The response came from Admiral Thessarian himself. The Harmony's Light was not a hospital ship. It was the collective's premier command vessel, grown and shaped over centuries to coordinate peacekeeping operations across the galaxy. When it moved to protect the medical ships, the humans got their first look at what Zephyrian military technology could really do. The bioship seemed to flow through space like liquid light, its hull shifting and adapting as it moved. When Captain Rodriguez fired a full spread of missiles at it, the Harmony's Light responded with defensive systems that seemed to bend reality. A field of energy surrounded the bioship, causing the missiles to simply stop in space as if they had hit an invisible wall. Particle beams were absorbed by hull sections that bloomed like flowers to catch the energy. Kinetic projectiles were deflected by gravitational fields that made space itself curve around the ship. "What the hell is that thing?" Rodriguez demanded, watching his weapons have no effect whatsoever. The Harmony's Light responded with what Thessarian intended as a demonstration of superior defensive capability, a warning to make the humans back down. Bioneural cannons emerged from the ship's hull and fired controlled bursts of energy that disabled the Fierce's weapon systems without harming the crew. To the humans, it looked like the alien command ship had just casually swatted aside their most powerful weapons and then disabled a destroyer with surgical precision. "They're playing with us," Rodriguez reported, his voice tight with fear and rage. "This thing just took out my weapons like they were toys." But Admiral Thessarian wasn't playing. He was making the hardest decision of his long career. The humans had just attacked medical ships, defenseless vessels carrying healing supplies. In collective law, such an act was unforgivable. "Signal the human fleet," he ordered. "Tell them that their attack on medical vessels violates every principle of civilized warfare. If they continue this aggression, we will be forced to respond with appropriate measures." The message that reached Admiral Torres had been processed through translation systems that were failing under the stress of cultural differences neither side understood. What she heard was, "Inferior beings, your pathetic weapons cannot harm true civilization. Surrender immediately or face the consequences of opposing your superiors. Your continued resistance only proves your unfitness to exist in civilized space." Torres read the message twice, then crushed the datapad in her augmented hand. "They want surrender," she told her staff. "After they've surrounded our system and destroyed any chance of negotiation, they want us to give up without a fight." "Admiral," reported her intelligence officer, "we're getting similar ultimatums on all frequencies. They're demanding complete capitulation." Torres activated the fleet command channel. "All human forces, this is Admiral Torres. The enemy has shown us their superiority complex and their advanced technology. They think we'll surrender because we can't match their ships one for one." She paused, looking out at the stars where human ships faced impossible odds. "They're right about their technology. They're wrong about us. We've never won a war by having better equipment. We've won by being more determined, more creative, and more willing to pay the price for victory than our enemies." Across the solar system, human crews listened to their admiral's words and felt something ancient awakening in their genes. The same drive that had carried their ancestors out of Africa, across oceans and into the stars. "This is our home," Torres continued. "Our families, our children, our future are behind us. The enemy has come here expecting us to submit to their idea of civilization. Let's show them what human civilization really means." The human response to the Zephyrian ultimatum was not surrender. It was the largest coordinated attack in the history of space warfare. Every human ship in the solar system, military vessels, converted civilian craft, mining ships with improvised weapons, even the tiny courier boats that carried mail between the planets, began moving toward the alien fleet. They came from all directions at once, using asteroid fields for cover, employing gravitational slings from planets to boost their speed, and coordinating their assault with the precision that only a species raised on a world where teamwork meant survival could achieve. Admiral Thessarian watched, the human response with growing amazement and horror. Instead of surrendering when faced with superior force, The humans were throwing everything they had into a desperate assault. Every ship they possessed was racing toward his fleet, and their coordination was perfect. "How many ships are we facing?" he asked. "Approximately 1,500 vessels of various sizes," reported Coordinator Yexuthara. "Admiral, they have armed civilian craft. They've turned cargo haulers into weapons platforms. Even their small personal spacecraft are carrying missiles." Thessarian realized he was looking at something unprecedented in galactic history. The humans hadn't just militarized their space force, they had militarized their entire civilization. Every human who could fly a ship was now flying toward his fleet with the clear intention of ramming alien vessels if necessary. "What kind of species does this?" he whispered. The answer came from his cultural specialist, Dextheron, who had been studying human behavior throughout the crisis. "A species that evolved on a death world, Admiral. Every piece of intelligence we have about their planet confirms it. Earth is hostile to life in ways that would kill most galactic species within days." Thessarian studied the tactical display showing 1,500 human ships converging on his 300 bioships. The humans were outnumbered and outgunned, but they were attacking anyway because that was what their evolution had taught them to do. They don't know how to surrender, he realized. Their world never gave them that option. The first human ships reached the outer edge of the Peacekeeper fleet and space erupted in fire. Human weapons, designed to cut through asteroid rock and survive cosmic radiation, slammed into bioships designed for peaceful operations. Some aliens died instantly, never understanding why the beings they had come to help were killing them with such desperate ferocity. But the bioships fought back. Defensive systems became offensive weapons. Living hulls that could heal from damage began growing weapons designed by evolution to protect peaceful species from exactly this kind of threat. The battle raged for hours, spreading across millions of cubic kilometers of space. "I